Hi, everybody on the RABC following on the social media platforms. It's Michele Andrishak here, your business coach, with the Secrets of Success in Business podcast. And today I am so excited to be sharing this podcast with owner, CEO, and businesswoman extraordinaire, Michele Bilsborrow from Cheeky Coutures in Red Deer. Michele, thank you so much for joining me on the Secrets of Business Success.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to be part of this. I think it's amazing that you do this every month. And thank you to your listeners for tuning in as well. It's a real honor to be here to share my journey, my business life, and probably some of my personal life along the way too.
Well, you know what? As we know, business and personal do intersect.
They do.
As an entrepreneur, it looks very different from the entrepreneurial life looks very different from the employee life. And that's why there are support services out there for entrepreneurs.
Yes. Thank goodness. Oh, cheers to that.
So, Michele, you have been in business for over 8 years now.
Yeah.
And you have built, and I've watched you grow since the very inception of your business. As I believe it was almost like a mobile stay-at-home operation to a storefront, and now you have multiple employees having huge events to help women, embrace who they are with themselves and show up confident through fashion. So with that said, tell me a little bit about Cheeky Coutures. Where did it start? How did it start? Why did you choose Cheeky Coutures?
Well, it's a big, long story, one that many don't know of, but they will after this. So since I was a young girl, and I believe it was about 10, I had a dream to have a boutique. Now, at that time in my life, it was designer denim, and I wanted to call it Smarty Pants. So some people are born, they can just play a piano, or they can just dance. They're given gifts. And throughout my adult life, I learned that my gift was this ability to look at a woman's profile and dress her. So as a result of that, my whole adolescence and adult life has been that. I was the go-to girl for everybody who needed to get dressed for whatever that was. So I did that naturally. And as the years went on, taking care of my family, raising my children took precedence over my dreams, and they were put on the back burner. But I never got my foot out of them. I worked with a few companies as an independent that I was able to really hone that natural gift that I had. And so through this evolution of becoming a professional stylist, I loved it. For one, it's really my thing. It's my gig. I call it my crack. to be able to dress a woman and see her transform, right? So take that gal who is struggling. I don't know what to wear. I have a closet full of clothes, but I don't like any of them. I don't feel good about myself. I don't know where to shop. I don't know where to go. When I'm able to fix that, or I should say we, because we do it as a team every day, when we can fix that and hand you back your power, it's the whole basis of my essence and who I am. That's my stuff. And so, for me, there wasn't anything else. It was always a boutique. I carried a binder around with me, scribblers, writing down possible names for years. And it took a while to get there. Some people have immediate capital. Some people can take it to a next level really quickly. Mine was truly organically growing. So I started in an 8x10 dining room, and with a Vista printed card and not a logo and a written invoice book. And I imported stuff from China. When I started, I did little trade shows, and within that first year, it grew into the consulting service. So we were called Cheeky Coutures Fashion Consulting Services for a long time. And life really changed about 5 years ago. And I had some decisions to make as to the direction we were going to go. And, you can quickly outgrow a homegrown business or a home-based business, and it can be limiting, and it really just depends on what you want. For me, I didn't want to be limited. So it was time I had tested and tried and fine-tuned this theory of being able to dress women for who they are, meaning their fashion type and their body personality. And I felt that we had room for it in my trading area, meaning Red Deer in Central Alberta. So we went to work to transition it from being, a small home-based business, working as a sole proprietor, to moving into being incorporated and heading into that retail arena. And we did that in May of 2015. Mm-hmm. It's been a real journey.
Absolutely. So, where is your location in Central Alberta? You see mentioned here, but when people want to come and visit you for their shopping needs, where can they find you?
So we are located at the very east end of Ross Street. And so we're what we call a destination boutique. And I did that on purpose. I really wanted a location where women could walk in and take a breath. They could go, where they could count on good, solid advice, where they could get the help they wanted in the fashions that they love. So we're at the very east end of Ross Street. You go to the east end of Red Deer and Ross Street till you can't go anymore. You actually have to go left into residential or right into residential. And we're right beside Buster's Pizza, so we never get hungry. The actual physical address is 380 Don Levy Avenue. There's free parking. It's safe. It's well lit. And those were also really important components, pardon me, when I opened up the store, of what we were looking for. So we have pioneered that in the Red Deer area as well. In this trading area, if you're not in the mall or on gates, you don't exist. And so we worked really hard for 3 years to bring it to the marketplace, what destination boutiquing is about. And it's coming, so it's good. I don't hear, why are you in Siberia anymore as much as I used to.
Good. That's so helpful that people can actually find you when you're in business. Yeah. So yeah. As you tell the story of growing up and being the fashion guru at school as you were growing up. So what made you choose entrepreneurship versus, going to work in somebody else's boutique or a career as a fashion consultant, or there are, a host of different other things. Why entrepreneurship?
Because I had something unique that I really wanted to bring to the public, and I couldn't do that within someone else's business. Now, don't get me wrong, I spent my time in the corporate world. I worked in high-level upper management companies. I made other companies successful. I had a marketing career as well, which I would be considered a dinosaur in that arena these days. The careers that I had required a tremendous amount from me. And it really just got to that point where if I was going to work that hard, why not work for myself? And that dream really was there the whole time. And I took a hiatus from the corporate world for a bit so I could quieten my mind and really do some thinking. And the decision to move from employment to entrepreneurship was really simple. Could I live with myself in my latter years, hopefully on a really comfortable rocking chair on a beautiful porch? Could I live with myself if I never did it? What was worse, failing or saying, wow, you didn't even try? So it really was, could I live with myself if I didn't take this plunge? Because it had been in my head, Michelle, for so many years. And, the answer was clear. I would not be okay having that regret in my latter years or heading to my maker.
Absolutely. Michelle, what I love about your story is how you bootstrapped your way all the way to the top. And
bootstrapped.
And
I like it.
Right, but that's not even a fashion pun. So bootstrapping is like, doing things, starting small, doing things and growing as you can afford to grow, or as the need in the market progresses, doing your market research to see what your most valuable client was looking for, and not just being just another fashion store, but a consulting place where anyone can walk in for any special event or even an everyday attire and just say, dress me. And you have these amazing fashion consultants, not just yourself, but also a staff of them as well.
Yeah, we worked very hard on training within the business. Not only are they trained and certified retail sales professionals, but they're also trained and certified by me for being fashion consultants. And it really is what makes us different and what makes us unique. And we hear it every day. So the response has been there, and women thoroughly enjoy it. I just wish we could have multiple locations across the country and do more than what we're currently doing at this point in time. But certainly, Red Deer and Central Alberta has spoken that they want and need this type of service.
Absolutely. So
Mm-hmm.
in the last eight years of your business, what would you say has been your greatest success?
Oh, there are so many. I did write a list here, so I am going to just remind. I think my greatest success was getting brave enough or facing the fear to see my dream of owning a boutique come to fruition and doing what was necessary to get that done. And it wasn't easy, and it wasn't always fun. But to me, that was a success, just being able to take that leap of faith and going for it. And being able to bring a unique platform to the boutique world. It was scary. Yes, I had done my market research, and yes, I had looked at many different markets and done all that's necessary to make that heavy investment to erect something like this. But it's still really scary. And so, it was a big success to put myself aside, which is what I really had to do, and bring this baby from the ground up and put it out there in the marketplace, and be willing and brave enough to do that. Because how will people respond? What is fashion consulting? What are you talking about? This just didn't exist in the boutique world at that level. And so facing that fear is a big success.
Mm-hmm. When you choose the life of an entrepreneur, you choose the roller coaster ride that it is, and with ups and downs. And I know a lot of my clients say that, and I say back to my clients that if you choose the life of an entrepreneur, you also choose to give up the right to have a comfort zone, because living outside your comfort zone is your new normal.
It is. It really is, and it really pushes you to grow. So, another success, if you want to call it that, is just the growth that I've experienced on a personal level and on a business level. The learning curve that I've been on to be able to accommodate the growth. I had a big wake up call 2 years ago, and we might get a chance to go through that. But if this was my goal, was to run a business of this size, did I really have the knowledge and the expertise to get it there? And that was an aha moment for me. So in my annual goals, which we do obviously, that was a big one. And it was to get my business acumen, my knowledge, my experience in place so that I could grow with the company to that position. Because I'm not going to say we were stalemated, but we had experienced growth and we were doing well, but then to get here was another whole thing. So I think being open and willing and on the hunt for information and those people, those support systems that could add to that. And it's been a real focus to do that. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Not only working in your business, but on your business and on yourself as well.
Absolutely. I mean, this is hard, that roller coaster. I mean, if you think about a roller coaster, right? You got the butterflies, and you've got the absolute terror, and then you've got the laughing and the joy and the fun, and being in that position where you're okay, meaning you have your mind under control, because it can run away on you, especially when you're fatigued and haven't slept much and the pressure is on. You're in a pressure cooker most days. So I think, making sure that you're okay is really important in that entrepreneurship journey. And I believe most of us don't put that on a high enough priority.
Right, getting into the right mindset. So what if someone is out there watching this broadcast right now who is experiencing the roller coaster ride and the fear and the doubting days, that one day it's I've got this, next minute is, oh my gosh, I don't got this,
Right.
in the fear of it also. Well, what would you do, say to them to overcome that fear or those doubting days?
I think there's so many strategies that I have in place, so many things I've tried. I would say one of the big ones is for me, it's to stop and take a breath. I'm my biggest competitor. I'm also my biggest critiquer. I don't even know if that's a word. Is that a word? And so I expect a lot of myself, and I expect a lot of those around me. And sometimes I have to stop and see where we've come from, how far we've come, and what we've overcome. Because I guess to put it in perspective, right? On any given day, there's a million things going on. In a retail business, you have 1,000 moving parts and pieces at any given time, and much going on. And you are dealing with fatigue. It's a labor heavy industry, which most people don't realize. But yeah, sometimes you just got to say, hey, you know what? I've overcome this, I've overcome that, we've accomplished this, we've accomplished that. Take 5 minutes, get yourself straight, and get back at it. And sometimes, one of my coaches and mentors through life, she always said, just wait 24 hours, everything can change. And it's so true. And so, sometimes I just have to go to bed and get some rest and come up with a fresh perspective. And again, it goes back to, having your mind in the right place. If you let your mind snowball, it can make that problem a lot bigger than what it is. And the other side of that is having a great support system and a great coach. It took me a long time to find the right fit for me. I've had many versions of them along the way for many different reasons. When I wanted to grow from that small business to that bigger business, and I needed that acumen and that help to do that, I went industry specific directly to retail to help me solve some major issues going in the store. One of them being inventory. It's a different boat when you're managing a large inventory. So I don't know what I would do without my coach in the retail sector of things, and it's industry specific for me. Now, of course, there's all those great coaches like yourself and others out there that I listen to your podcasts. I'm constantly reading. I'm trying to get out to see you gals as much as you can because you have so much to offer. But for me, it was critical that it was industry specific.
Absolutely.
Get us to that next level. So, just like any athlete, when you're in grade school, who's your coach? It's your teacher. And so I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes we forget that one, it's okay to have a coach. It's not a failure. It's a success. It's a win. And that you really need that person in your court. And then, of course, if you're lucky enough to have somebody special in your life like I do, I don't know what I would do without Ian. He's been as much a part of this business as me, and he really is my support system. And he's put up with the late nights, the early mornings, the moving of clothes, the dressing women. He's done it all. And I'm just so grateful for him and for my staff. So when it comes to those struggles, don't lay down, take a breath if you need to, but seek out the people that can really help you. And there's lots of them.
Great advice. So as you moved from what I call chief of everything, or COE, at the beginning of your business, where you're doing everything, and now you're sitting in the position that I think every entrepreneur wants to be in, CEO. So what did that transition look like for you?
Ugly.
The truth.
Ugly. No, I'm kidding. One of the character traits of entrepreneurs, and this is just my humble opinion from knowing many of them, we're control freaks, and that's what makes us good at what we do. So it's really hard to let those things go in your business, and I can't say I perfected it. I'm learning how to. So you have to have great systems in place to do that. And you have to have great people. And, one of the things I say often, it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to raise a business. And so having those systems in place, investing in people, having them trained to be able to hand over the reins confidently is really important. So I'm half a CEO and half COE. So we're getting there, but my reality is the business is at a place that I can't do it all anymore. And so on a daily basis, what are those things that I can identify that I can either hire for or retain for? I really believe in empowering people from within our own operation. So, what are they really great at? What do they love to do? Great, let's get them doing more of that. And through that, I've been able to release some of those daunting tasks that need to be released so that I can take the company to the next level and in a different direction. Right? I'm that girl. I haven't had a vacation in 4.5 years, and I work 16, 18 hours a day, quite often 7 days a week, and that is my reality at the moment. But I'm also aware that I can't sustain that forever. And it's really important at this critical time in the business to start handing some of those things over. So it's planning. It's looking at baby steps sometimes for me. And I had mentioned too that I'm my own worst critic and I'm my biggest competitor. And, sometimes it's letting go and being okay with somebody may do something a little different or not at the level that you would want it to be. And at the end of the day, does it net the same result? And if it does, then I've had to take that breath and go, you know what, I'm okay with that. And thanks for doing a great job.
Absolutely. I love that you continually mention planning and setting goals and making those baby action steps. Business is a marathon, not necessarily a sprint.
Right.
So, when it comes to planning, and I believe that all great businesses are planned, whether it comes to planning your time or your daily activities or planning the next step for growth. What is your system around how you plan each year?
Yeah, I mean, it always starts at our fiscal year end, because I always consider that my clean slate. Inventory is done. It's a time that we look back. We don't stay back, but we look back and we look forward. And so, I think some people get afraid of planning and goal setting because, what if I don't achieve that? The saddest goal never met is the one never planned. Right. And so, can I say we're an expert at it and we have a formula for it? I don't, but I know it's critical and we do it every year. So, for us, this renovation that we just went through, building the warehouse in my office, as well as doing the whole inside of the shop, that's a tremendous amount of planning, and that had been in the works for years. So it didn't happen overnight. It took some patience. We had to do it bit by bit. And it took planning to get to that sales volume that we wanted to get to it, planning and how were we going to do that? What were the parts and pieces that were going to move us forward to do that? And what did that look like throughout the year? How did I have to grow in order to lead that ship in the direction that it needed to go? So that's been part of the planning process. Getting our inventory under control. In retail, your inventory is your greatest asset, but it's also your greatest liability, and it can sink a ship real fast. So how are we going to make sure that we have the right amount of inventory landing at the right time to keep our business healthy so that cash flow issues are healthy? And, sometimes it's looking at the numbers. If you're not looking at your numbers on an ongoing basis, you need to do that. And seeing how those changes are impacting as well. So it's really, and a lot of times planning changes. We have this plan and this happens and that happens and we change along the way. And the renovation, it was really planned for our first year in business. The economy hit and it meant it wasn't happening. And so what was the long-term goal to get to where we wanted to go, and what were we going to do in the meantime to accomplish that? So I don't have a magic formula other than usually it's at year end when our inventory is balanced and we look back and look forward. And, some are short term and some are long term. It's not necessarily, okay, I'm going to accomplish this tomorrow or this is going to be done in 6 months. It's a whole bunch of those things. And Absolutely. Sometimes it's small, like I hate that chandelier. I want to have that changed in 3 months, right? Small attainable goals. And sometimes they're huge, like doing a major renovation. But you can't just flick a switch and go because that is not calculated risk, in my opinion.
Right. You have to make sure that even though you're an entrepreneur and you're naturally risk friendly, everyone loves to take that leap and then try and put together the parachute on the way down after they've jumped off,
Oh,
right? It's that calculated risk of, okay, who's going to help me put the parachute together?
yes.
And so when we're thinking about, that jump off the cliff and
Mm.
success stories, on the other side of the roller coasters are the struggles and the failures and the getting back up again, that resilience in business.
Sure.
So what would you describe as some of your greatest struggles, and how did you overcome them?
Oh, wow. That's Pandora's box.
Mhm.
And I figured you'd ask me this question, and I gave it some thought. And, one thing about entrepreneurs is we're just people. We aren't born with capes and superpowers. We're people just like everybody else. And let me tell you, the struggle is real. I think we have a makeup bag in the store that says that on it. The struggle is real. And I laugh every time I look at it. But, I went from this consulting service, which enjoyed a certain amount of success, and we moved into the retail market. Now, goes back to that planning and looking ahead and looking back. Typically, a downturn in my industry meant an increased sales to me, and I'll tell you why. Because women, maybe they gave up the lavish vehicles or the big trips, but they still wanted their, what I'm going to call, their shopping fix. It was still affordable to do that. So typically, I seen that support my business more than hurt it. Well, the one that happened in 2015 was a much different story. And I have to say, I wasn't prepared for it. We ended up, that started 3 months after we opened a brand new retail store. So brand new investment, huge risk on our parts, backbreaking work to get it up. And this was on the tail end of a devastating divorce for me. So it literally took every cent I had and then some to rep that building. And the worst economy, and I hate to bring it up, but it's the truth, in the history of our province hit. And it got really scary really fast. And we had to work through that. And really, I had no choice. It was lose everything that I had left, which wasn't much after the divorce. Or get creative, get innovative, right? That staying power. And we left no stone unturned. I remember 2 years ago in June, Ian and I having that conversation. We had 30 days to make it. We had 30 days. I pulled the last pennies out of my mortgage because entrepreneurs do that. And yes, I went for it. And failing was not an option. So we had to diversify. You talked about the Cheeky Mobile earlier in our conversation, and we went on the road. Our market disappeared, so we went and found it. We did offsite sales. We did whatever we could to move product and keep our doors open. I even went as far to have that conversation with my landlord that I've got 30 days, and if we can't turn this thing around, we're done. And so, that was a real difficult time. And I look back on that and I'm grateful. And most people go, why are you grateful for all that stress? And, it taught me what I'm made of. It taught me to be resourceful. It taught me to be resistant. It taught me to be careful. It taught me to plan. It taught me to manage my inventory. I learned so much from that experience. I don't want to repeat it, but business is cyclical. So that was a huge, huge struggle and took a lot to get through. And I'm so glad we did. But really, it could have went either way, right? And I mean, we had businesses across in 3 provinces, which I'm most aware of, up to 10 a day closing in the boutique sector. Yes. So that was terrifying. But I look back on it because you have to look back to go forward, and grateful for that. And it really showed me what I'm made of. And, today when I look at big decisions, or I look at financing, or I look at growth, nothing is as scary as that was. And so it's a real interesting perspective. I really learned how to take calculated risks. So that was an expensive and difficult education, but worth every penny and gray hair.
But at the same time, what I heard you also say is that you were innovative. You found other ways to move product. You didn't stay and wait for your most valuable client to come to you. You went to your most valuable client and packed up the van and went out there and innovated So it's that pause, pivot, and proceed. It's like,
I like that.
So pause is like, where are we at? Let's do a self-evaluation. Pivot, what direction do we need to go in order to continue, and then proceed in that direction. And it might not be the original direction you thought your business was going.
No.
But that's the direction you need to go to survive.
Yeah. And we went into a survival mode, and we survived. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of our team, because they were on that journey with me, and they thought, what crazy thing is she going to come up with today? And sometimes it was minute by minute, but I'm so glad we went through that. And by doing that, it allowed me to continue to reach the goal for the company, which is to empower women through fashion. And without Coutures Boutique, I can't do that.
That's right. That's right. So during the downturn, in the boutique industry alone, there were 10 stores shutting down, per day, and it was really scary. Also, too, there has been a lot of industry changes where people can shop online, and there's that new online market, and the competing against Amazon or anywhere that you can buy, those types of items, or online shopping malls versus the in-person boutique experience. So
Sure.
as the online opportunities opened up for your clientele, how did you shift and adjust and differentiate yourself so people kept walking in your door?
That's a great question, and it's a big topic in the retail world. This is my position. It's not necessarily everybody's. And by the way, during that downturn, we even went online. We tried that too. That was a costly mistake. And here's the deal. Change is inevitable. None of us are immune to it as individuals for a business. And I really had to refocus our marketing. Online was not for us. It's very difficult to be stylists online. So we found out. We really are a belly-to-belly business, and I believe there's a lot of room for it. We live in a non-touch, non-communicative world, meaning it's all non-hands-on, and the real essence of styling and being a boutique is being belly-to-belly. It's being face-to-face with your clients. It's developing relationships, and we're really good at that. So we focused at what we were good at, and I can't compete with the big box stores. I am not an online store. They have their own set of dynamics. What we are is a women's boutique that you can walk into and get the fashion you love, the footwear you crave, and the accessories to bring it all together with the expert advice that you deserve. And that's who we are. And there's still many, many women who want and need that. And so that's who we are. So we focus on what we do really well. And are we going to get all of the business? Of course not. I couldn't dress every woman in central Alberta. I mean, they would never fit in the door. So, I'm grateful. I've had to online shop myself for some things. I support local business, but sometimes I have to go online. And I think there's room for everybody. What I hear in our industry is a lot of gripe about, the impact of these other businesses. And you know what? If it's not that, it's going to be something else. My question to you is, are you going to focus on the essence of who and what you are, and do that really well? Now, I'm not saying stay stagnant and be stubborn. You have to grow and change, and perhaps look at new ways of marketing or getting your message out there, or your product out there. But you know what? The big box stores and the online world, they're not my competitors. They're part of a big pie of retail, but they don't do what we do, and they don't offer what we do. And it's okay if the consumer is choosing multiple sources for their fashion needs. That's okay. I'm totally okay with that. But when you're ready to have that relationship, when you're ready to work with a stylist, when you have that need to go shopping because it's fun and it's educational, we're there for that. And we're good at it. So that's what we do.
Mm-hmm. And I love that, being really understanding yourself as a business and a brand and as a service, and sticking to it, sticking to what you do really, really well. and not necessarily putting the blinders on to the competition, but not letting them affect your day-to-day decision making, because you are focused on serving your client to the best of your ability in your own unique way. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, obviously, we know what our competition is up to. We know what's going on in the industry. We're not oblivious to that. But it's also not who we are. It's not what we do. And it's not why I have blood, sweat, and tears in those floorboards, is to try and compete with a business that's not even in the same sector as me. So, I think there's room for everybody. And if you do the work, and if you're creative and you learn, there's room for any business.
Absolutely.
Market.
So you touched briefly on being innovative with your marketing, and I know that anyone that follows Cheeky Coutures on social media sees your marketing and the great job you're doing of it. So, Michele, what is your best marketing tip for the people watching, the entrepreneurs saying, how do I reach my audience?
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to throw some terms out there from, marketing gurus. So your USP, which is unique selling proposition, you got to know who you are, and you got to know who you're talking to, and how do you talk to them is really what it boils down to, for us anyways. Your unique selling proposition, and this is what makes you unique, what makes you special. So I used to work in the print and commercial printing industry, and I specialized in design, pushing the presses to the limit. Now that's old language, and I'm going to make myself a dinosaur again. And we used to talk about USP a lot, because anybody could print anything, anywhere, at any time. So it was an incredibly competitive market. And the only difference between picking up work and not was the person who's selling it. The ability to keep their word, to follow through, to be true to who they are, to deliver on time, to meet the deadlines. Those were important things. And in those days, that was my USP. That's what set me apart from my competition. A press is a press, right? Ink is ink. Yeah. Anybody could do it. And it's really no different in the boutique world. Anybody can open up a shop that wants to work like a crazy woman. Anybody can have that dream to have a boutique. So if you don't have anything unique about you, how are you going to market that, right? So you're not going to survive. So it's really about knowing who you are, knowing who your customer is, and creating that language that enables you to create a relationship, because marketing today is really about relationships for those people who engage, right? And as a small business owner, it's not only marketing your unique selling proposition, which for us is the styling and consulting side of it, and great fashions and footwear and accessories, of course, but it's also me. That's my baby, and I've developed that brand, and a lot of people identify Cheeky Coutures with me. So that also means I have to market me, which sometimes is difficult.
And I hear that a lot, especially from some of my women in business clients. They have a trouble, quote unquote, putting themselves out there.
Sure.
And understanding the definition of, you're not putting yourself out there personally as the person you are on a Friday night when you flop on the couch and go, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
It's the brand. It's like, what personal brand are you putting out there as you as a product?
That's right.
And personal branding is so important, because I still believe that people do business with people, and they only do business with people that they know, like, and trust.
Absolutely.
So how are you allowing people to get to know you?
That's right. And we're in the relationship business. Every day that's what we do. And so not only is it important for myself to be out there, to be making sure our brand is where it needs to be, but it's also the responsibility of the people who work within the company. They're also an extension of me, an extension of my brand. And what a great feeling to walk into a boutique and people know you. It's like the old Cheers days, right? Everybody knows your name. And so I go back to that belly to belly business. That's who we are, and we're really focused on that. And so, be authentic, be real. Today, people can sniff out fake in a second, right? And just be really good at what you are and learn. One of the most difficult things, because I come from old school marketing, has been to get into this new way of marketing, which is the social media side. And I quite often say, I know enough to be dangerous, but not necessarily enough to be effective. But I'm learning, and it is almost on a daily basis, and it's a focus of mine. I recognize as an entrepreneur and a small business owner that there's huge opportunities sitting on the table with social media. And am I going to get my skill set to where it needs to be in order to execute that? Or am I going to let that bypass? And I'm not letting that baby go. So it's important and it's critical to have that presence and that consistent presence in an appropriate way. But because we're called cheeky, we can push the edge a little bit most days. So I'm always in social media school and always looking for opportunity to learn. And, just when you learn it, it changes. Okay, that's the way of the world. So you keep learning. And, sometimes it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to get started, right?
Oh, and I love that.
Sometimes and so one of the challenges is social media is a time drainer. I think Joe said it on Joe's social media, when you interviewed him, that, each medium that you're taking is about 7 hours a week. So if you're on 3 mediums, that's 28 hours a week. Well, if you're the marketer in your company, that takes 28 hours a week. But now you need another 60 hours to do the rest. Like, now we're getting crazy, right?
Exactly.
So my goal, and one of my goals, is to have a person in place that can manage social media for me. But I also believe that as an owner, you need to know yourself so that you can help that person manage it. I think a big mistake is, well, I don't know how to do the books, so I'm just going to throw it at my bookkeeper and my accountant, but I have no working knowledge of it. That's dangerous. So I like marketing, so my nose will always be in it, but my goal is to have that person and that individual who can, really be on our ship and market the heck out of our business so that we can connect with the customers who are looking for us, because there's lots of them.
Absolutely. It's all about that engagement. Michele, you talk about, the hours that you have to put into social media. You said before, sometimes it's a 7-day a week, 14 to 18 hour a day, and life work balance for an entrepreneur looks really, really different, because we get to do what we love, and therefore, doing what we love, we do so much of it, right? So, right. Right. We love this stuff. So when it comes to work-life balance for you, what does that look like? How do you measure your work-life balance, and how do you turn off business in your head so you can turn on life?
Yeah, I drink a lot of wine. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm not. Yes, I am. That's a great question. And for me, I've quit chasing the unicorn. And what do I mean by that? I made a decision 8 years ago to become an entrepreneur. And I think so many budding or young entrepreneurs maybe still come from that position, build it and they will come. And that couldn't be any further from the truth. And so I look at work-life balance as a realistic work-life balance for an entrepreneur. And so it is not a 9-to-5er. I don't leave the problems when I go home. And I'm still in the building phases. So I'm going to take you back to early in the interview when I said I rebuilt the company 3.5 years ago. So I'm really still in the startup stages of my business. When you look at it from that perspective, it takes a tremendous amount to put those systems, policies, procedures in place so that you can create perhaps that work-life balance. And I certainly look forward to it in my journey as an entrepreneur. I'm not there yet. So I've really just accepted this is the journey that I took, and it's a 70-30 split. I have an amazing family, an amazing partner who understands the demands of the boutique. And so I take you back to that support system. And I think I'm just learning. I'm always tired. So I'm learning to do fun things tired. If that makes sense.
Sure. It's a new reality.
And the other thing is you really have to schedule it in. And I have to say, I'm not proficient at it, but it's getting there. Bit by bit. And we have been able to attend some things that I wasn't able to in the past. And so long as I see improvement, I'm good. But, it's a lot of work, and work-life balance is almost an oxymoron to me in the entrepreneurial world. And so learning again to have fun, Ian and I had a night off, and it wasn't that long ago. And this was a wake-up call, an aha moment. We were looking at each other and we thought, well, what are we going to do? And you know what? We didn't know. We haven't done anything fun or interesting for so long. We didn't even know what to do for a rare night off. And I thought, you know what? That's not okay. So now we're getting to that point where I'm giving myself permission to take a little bit of time off.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm getting back involved in family events and different things happening, not as much as I would like. But the fact is, I am an entrepreneur. I chose the retail category, which is very labor intensive. And that goal is always there to have more us time, more me time, whatever that looks like. But it definitely is a work in progress. And in my industry, it's seasonal. We have times a year where you're on and you're on heavy, and there's no stepping back. And then there are other times a year that perhaps gift an opportunity to slow it down a little bit and take an outside breath. So that was a real long answer to your question. But for me, I believe it's possible, but I've quit chasing the unicorn, and I've accepted the choices I made and what comes with that. So my work-life balance would be a 70-30.
You know what? And balance looks different for everybody. So
sure.
And I think this is why I asked the question, because it does look different for everybody. As an entrepreneur, work-life balance, is that the unicorn or the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow?
Sure.
It's that old adage that entrepreneurs will work like nobody else will to live like nobody else can, but that's in the end.
Exactly.
Maybe after we've celebrated that 10 or 15 year or 20-year anniversary, maybe then.
Maybe then. Well, it certainly is a unique personality to be an entrepreneur. I've heard so many people talk, well, you just open up a business and you're rich, or you just, you build it and they will come. And that's so not it. So I think in part of that planning, in part of that looking or considering entrepreneurship, I think you really have to factor in the sacrifices that you will make. And I recently attended the Small Business of the Year Awards by the Red Deer Chamber of Commerce. And they talked about that. All of the category nominees talked about that. And I thought, great, I'd love to hear that here's the deal. This is not easy, and you will make sacrifices. And one of those is a work-life balance. Work-life balance really comes from the employment sector. It doesn't come from the entrepreneurial sector. So be prepared for that. Have your support system prepared for that. If you've got children, prepare them for that. I mean, I have 2 grown sons. I have 2 grandchildren. And I sat my sons down before I started this journey, and I let them know that this was going to take, and did I have their support to do that? And they just know, right? There are certain times of the year that they won't hear from me for 2 months until I come up from air. So does my family. And it's really important to know that if you choose this journey, you might want to rework what work-life balance looks like to you, because it's not from an employment perspective.
Great advice. Having those crucial conversations before you launch into business with your families, with your significant others, to make sure, because I believe that it doesn't matter if you're going into business as a solopreneur or a sole proprietor. Every business is a family business.
It is. It affects everything. Right. And one of the many events I had the pleasure of attending this month was Women Leading Change, put on by the Red Deer Chamber of Commerce. And a great gal that I was on the panel with, she owns the Curvy Brush, and it's a women's company painting. And something profound, she said that entrepreneurship is relentless forward motion. And I absolutely loved that. And I thought, Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's actually placed it in a few places in my office. And it is relentless forward motion. So you have to make a decision. Do you, are you going to find out if you have what it takes? Or are you going to make sure you have what it takes to take that entrepreneurial journey?
Absolutely. Fantastic. Michele, I've so enjoyed this time with you, and I have one final question.
Absolutely.
If there is one piece of advice you could give to someone watching this broadcast who is thinking about starting their own business, what piece of advice would you give them?
Oh, well, there's another large topic. It's a big one. I would say some of the old faithfuls, and that is really know what you're good at and what you're not, and hire that out accordingly. So for me, I understand books and I understand accounting. It is not my thing, and I have other things to do than that. So I hire that out to allow me to work on other facets of the business, but I know enough to make sure that I know what's going on. So you can't do everything all the time. And as your business grows, that will change. And so having those great people in place, whether they're in your employment or whether you're outsourcing them, is really important. For me, it's the bookkeeping and accounting end. I don't know what I would do without those two women in my life. Rome wasn't built in a day. and sometimes you have to have a little bit of patience. You have to allow things to gestate as you go through some trial and error. But if you have those goals set, you have that place that you want to get to, you're going to need a little bit of time for that to happen. So I know I'm a very impatient person. And sometimes I think it should all just happen right now. And be prepared that it is going to take some time for things to start to gestate and to see the fruits of your labor. So be prepared for that, and have that support, whether that's friends, other entrepreneurs, family, business coaches. You're really going to need that, because sometimes it's a real lonely journey, and that's not a great feeling when you feel like you're 10 feet under and you can't breathe. And so and if you're in that startup phase where there is no capital and there is no cash flow, we've all been there. There's some great organizations, yours for instance, that has a lot of free, incredibly important information. There are the chambers, there's networking opportunities. Get out there and don't be alone, and be ready and be prepared for change. If you don't like change, you might want to reconsider your entrepreneurial career. And so it just is, and you have to be flexible, and you have to be bendable, and you have to move and roll with things. And I take that back to being creative, innovative, and all of those things, and learn. Being an entrepreneur has been the biggest education of my life, and I've loved every minute of it, to be in a position to gain that knowledge and see that knowledge impact my business, my life, my customers' lives. So be a learner. Be a sponge and gain as much knowledge as you can. And finally, just breathe.
Just breathe. I love
breathe.
That.
Right?
Well, that is a perfect way to all the secrets of success that you have shared with us. Oh my goodness, Michele, so amazing.
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough for your time. So, ladies and gentlemen watching this broadcast, please go see Michele at Cheeky Coutures. Bump into her. I know she networks quite often at the Red Deer Chamber of Commerce. You'll see her pop up and wow every once in a while as well. And it is a great opportunity, again, to build your tribe of peers and mentors. Not just, formal coaches like myself, but mentors that have walked the walk before you as well. And if you're looking for even more inspirational stories like Michele's, you can go to rebcrocky.com/webinar central. There is 8 different inspirational stories of business success that you can watch, just like this one, at no charge whatsoever. So
every one of them are amazing. So, I thank you for this time, and I thank you for all you do for entrepreneurs in Central Alberta, and I'm sure well beyond. And thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're a total delight as always. And
and one time soon we'll go shopping and drink wine together. I like that.
Okay, I am in.
Okay, Michele and everyone watching, thank you so much. And we'll see you in next month's Secret of Success podcast with a new successful entrepreneur that will blow your socks off, I'm sure. So stay tuned for details on that. Michele, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure having you. And we'll talk to you again very soon.
I look forward to it. Take care.
Well, bye for now.
Bye now.